Oh, the noise. The noise. How do I stop Christmas? Oh, with this hat and this coat, I look like St. Nick. That's how I can stop Christmas. Yes. Now, where is that mangy nut of mine? I need a reindeer.
Welcome to the Deal Doctor live stream. It's Monday, 1 o'clock. Sorry, we had a little bit of technical hiccup there, but here we are. It's the holiday season. We're all ready to go, and today we're going to talk a little bit about contingent offers. What are contingent offers? What does it all mean? And how do we deal with it? So Eric was going to join us here. I'm not sure exactly if he was not able to log on quite yet. But hopefully the weather, as I'm looking out the window, and the weather's doing great out there. It's a little snow, not a lot, but it's pretty cool. So anyway, we're going to talk here today about contingent offers and how we get what we should do to clarify some information on offers when we are faced with contingent offers. So I'm going to show you a couple of things and share some language that might help you. And again, we're going to try to just wait a minute for Eric. He should be on the way. I'm not exactly sure what happened, but anyway, so where I want to start out today is to talk a little bit about the language of your particular offer. And it's important that we all understand what our offers say in our individual purchase agreements, because they're all slightly different. We're going to talk a little bit today about the Grand Rapids Association of Realtors, or I should say the West Michigan Regional Purchase Agreement, and the contingent offer box that says it's subject to sale and close. It's box number 3 in the contingent sale paragraph. And so we'll talk about that in a minute, about what language to make.
I think I stopped Christmas.
That
I think I really did. No one will ever know. I'm going to do it. I'm going to get it. Well, hello. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Deal Doctor Live. Sorry, I had a little technical difficulty.
That's my Santa. You stole my Santa. All right. So, stole my Santa. Okay, so here we are, and we're going to talk about contingent offers. So in box number 3 of contingent offers, it says it is subject to the sale and close of a property, and that the property is going to remain on the market until such. I'm kind of miffed. Okay, you stole my Santa. Really?
There is no proof. I don't know what you're talking about.
So anyway, so what happens, Eric, when we have such fun? What happens, Eric, when we get a contingent offer and it's the third box is checked and you get an offer, an underlying offer? Does the agent, the listing agent, is it required that they receive anything more than the offer, the underlying offer?
Well, I have to refer back to the purchase agreement if it states that. That's the number one key. But if we're looking at Garar's West Michigan Regional Purchase Agreement, no, we don't need to remove that contingency. We just need to get that offer from that buyer. Now, the problem is it acceptable to the seller when you get that offer?
Well, does that make a difference?
Well, it depends on where that seller is. What was the motivation of the seller to sell? If you have multiple offers and everyone's waiting behind the scenes to buy it, maybe we should have counter offered that initial purchase agreement to state that future, when they sent over that offer that the buyer has on their home, maybe we need to exclude offers that are also contingent upon sale and closing.
Well,
because then you end up getting back to back. We have a purchase agreement with a sale and close contingency. Then you have that buyer who's buying your home as a seller that has a contingent, and it starts getting into a domino effect.
So conceivably, theoretically, you could have a number of offers backed up, all of which were subject to the sale and closing. And there's nothing in that contingency paragraph that says that that's not a bona fide offer. There's no valuation given to that particular offer as to whether or not it should remove the subject property from the market, is there?
No, and that's the problem, because it could be a real lousy offer. So let's say, again, you're representing the seller. You get an offer that has that box checked or language saying that this offer there is going to be contingent upon the buyer selling their current home and closing on it. You might want to counter offer that language to state, if you're a listing agent, that state that any offer that comes in from that buyer has to be acceptable to the seller. Because otherwise, if you just go with the current language the way it's written, it could be a terrible offer that this buyer has agreed to with another party, and you have no control over the outcome of what's happening with that purchase agreement. But that's the way sometimes real estate goes. I mean, if this is the only offer that you have, then you know what? Make the best of it, and you try to navigate as best you can with that potential buyer who now has to sell, who's waiting on another potential buyer.
So let's pretend. And so if the underlying offer, the underlying buyer or the buyer of the property wants this deal to go through and wants that seller's home removed from the market, let's pretend that they get an offer written up by their, Uncle Charlie for, maybe, 30% of the market value. Is that a bona fide offer? Is the seller required to remove that property from the market? And the answer, I think, is
yes.
Yeah, unless you as a listing agent have stipulated in that counter offer from the initial offer that any offers provided must be acceptable upon to the seller before they remove the house from the market. Would that clarify it?
Yeah, it sure would. And that's the hard thing, is because, again, we're representing a seller. We get an offer and we're excited about it. Sometimes we don't go back and look at the fine details of those clauses that state that, well, this offer is really contingent upon the buyer listing their home, getting it under contract, and closing on it.
Right, exactly.
So there's a lot going on there.
So let's talk about another situation that occurs, particularly with that third paragraph, that third box in the contingent paragraph within the West Michigan Regional Purchase Agreement. And that is right of first refusal. Let's pretend that the buyer submits the offer, the original offer, and asks for the next 2 weeks, the seller to give them the next 2 weeks to get their home under contract. What happens then? I know that in some markets it has to be marked as pending. For example, the Greater Regional Alliance of Realtors in the Grand Rapids area, and on WMLAR it has to be reported as active contingent, right?
Yep.
Which essentially removes it from the market in either.
Correct.
So before listing agents accept an offer that has a right of first refusal, I would encourage you to give Eric or me or your broker support team a call and talk through what consequences that creates for the seller.
Yeah, because those right of first refusals, truly now, it's an offer. It's an accepted offer, which now the seller has to perform by not doing anything else marketing. They're under contract. They're giving the other party, that buyer, 14 days, let's say, to get their house under contract. And again, the seller may not be able to market the home. They may have to market pending. And if so, then they're not going to get any other showings because it's pending. So that language could prevent the seller from doing anything further until that 2 weeks or whatever period of time that they put in there for that right of first refusal expires.
Right. Okay, one other thing that happens with a lot of these offers is that there's language in there that says that it's subject to the sale and close of a property by a certain time, by a certain date. And the question is, and this goes to different purchase agreements because the language is different in, for example, GCAR versus West Michigan Regional Purchase Agreement. And so when that date passes, let's say it's, January 10th, the underlying purchase agreement is going to, come forward by January 10 or not. What happens as of January 10 if that buyer has not delivered an underlying transaction to the seller?
Yeah, depending on the purchase agreement, again, we got to go back and look at the language. I think in the West Michigan Regional, the seller is still stuck in a purchase agreement until the actual closing date deadline passes. Doesn't give the seller the right to automatically terminate. Again, we have to look at the language to see whether, if a deadline or date is not met, does it grant the seller or the buyer the right to terminate? If it doesn't, we want to include language in an addendum or a counter offer to specify what that deadline means. Meaning, if buyer is unable to perform on or before blank date, seller has the right to terminate purchase agreement.
Exactly.
So we just need consequences. We need to understand dates and whether there's a consequence associated with it, or if it's just there are no consequences, then so what? It's kind of a moot point. It doesn't matter anymore. I mean, you got to sit on the sidelines.
We've run into this a number of times where listing agents have assumed that if they didn't deliver a contract by that given date, that the seller had the right to go and sell it to somebody else. And that's not true. That only gives, and again, this is a West Michigan Regional Purchase Agreement, it only gives the buyer the right to terminate the contract, not the seller. Now, in addition to that, or to clarify some more, with the GCAR contract, I believe, one of the contracts I know we use, I think it's GCAR, but we'd have to check on that. But one of them says that if they don't deliver a contract by that date, that the deal is dead, that the seller and buyer both no longer are in a contract together. So it's really, really important that we read the contracts. And again, if you have questions about that and what the ramifications of these contingent paragraphs are, by all means, give us a call. We'll be happy to help. Anything else?
Yeah, as I say, if you're a listing agent and you get an offer and you are unclear about what's being stated, it never hurts to do a counter offer, just spelling out, hey, for clarification, we just want to make sure that all parties understand this is what we are requesting. That if you don't perform on or before this date, then the seller has the right to terminate. Again, as a seller, you just want to be able to protect yourself and make sure that your seller is protected. Now, as a buyer, on the other hand, the buyer may say that I want to make sure that it's written to ensure. As a buyer's agent, I want to make sure that it's written a certain way to protect my buyer. So again, depending on which side you're on, I love that, Santa. Depending on which way, which side you're on, you can always give us a call. The Deal Doctors. We might be grinchy before Christmas. You never know.
Hey, wish you all a very, very happy Merry Christmas, happy holidays.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
And we'll see you back here next year. Have a good one.
Take care.